Cadence Podcast. I'm Katarina.
And I'm Michael.
And today's episode is a fun one, huh?
I think it's just a casual chat because WWDC 23, one of Apple's biggest events of the year, just happened. And while I don't think Kat is as big into Apple events, or maybe Apple even in general.
To be honest, I was just going to say, for the people like me, I don't even know what it stands for.
Worldwide Developers Conference.
By Apple.
By Apple. So typically WWDC, for the people who are listening who have heard that acronym and have no idea up to this day, it's essentially a place for all the developers to get an insight into what Apple sort of has planned for the year so they can start developing apps for their devices. So a lot of people think that this one is exciting because it's the first one. However, there's usually not a lot of like big product hardware announcements, and it's mainly software based. That's why you always get like the iOS updates, the Safari or Mac operating system updates, the watch updates, which you're not even wearing right now.
It's so hot right now. I'm sweating under the watch.
Yeah. And so that's pretty much it. And they typically refresh their computer systems. And then the one in September.
Yes, that's the one that I know.
That's the big one that everyone always looks forward to, because at that one there was like the iPod, the iPod at the time, and the iPhone. And
that's always when they launch the new iPhone, right?
Yeah, exactly. So that's the second one. But before we dive like into that, we'll get right into the new cadence. And this week it's Katarina.
Yeah, so I actually brought you an update on a new cadence that I had already mentioned a couple of episodes ago.
Okay, and that is?
Take a guess.
Something about how far back are we talking?
Pretty far back, like one of the first episodes, like maybe episode 3, I think. Might have been episode.
What, the planes? The sleeper planes?
Yeah.
From New Zealand Air?
Yeah. So what do you think the update is?
I don't know.
They just revealed the prices.
I was going to say that, but for some reason I thought we talked about that.
No, I think you asked me if I knew, and I didn't know.
Just to give everybody listening who didn't catch that original episode, that new cadence was, Katarina was saying how New Zealand Air was now using planes that even allowed economy class to have like business sort of and first class style seating where you could like lay the seats fully down flat like a bed. Yeah,
they call it a sleep pod. So I think it's what I don't think there's official photos yet, but what I envision it to look like is those sleep pods in like Japanese like those tiny hotels.
You don't think it's like the first class seat that can slip down? Like
there's a photo here, and this is, it looks like bunk beds to me. And I don't know if that's actually...
Oh, it totally, like, the picture that we're looking at, maybe I'll throw it up on screen for the people who are watching on YouTube, but they kind of look like futuristic bunk hostel-style beds that you would see in Japan. Like, you're right, like the little sleep pod.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and it's called Skynest, and it says, I'll just read it. According to a press release, they're launching, I think, in one specific plane, and they're launching 6 sleep pods in this plane, and it says they will be located between the economy and premium economy cabins.
Okay.
And the passengers will be able to pre-book a slot in the pod for between 400 to 600 New Zealand dollars, which equals 255 to 380 US dollars. For a 4-hour block, in addition to the regular cost of their ticket. So it is now that I'm reading this, it's a bit different from what I thought it is. I thought it's the seat you book is now like the sleep pod, but it's more sort of...
It's an addition.
Yeah, you book a time slot in those sleep pods for 4 hours, and then someone else goes in after you or something.
Okay, so that changes everything, because lots of questions are being brought up. Like, I totally get it. If you're flying from New Zealand all the way to the US, sometimes those flights are 12 plus hours and you just want a good night's sleep or whatever. Or maybe you have a baby and you need to like get in there real quick to sleep with your little newborn or whatever. But what I want to know is what the turnover is like. Like, who's going to clean it for the next person?
It says that the cabin crew will change the bedding in each pod after each use. And it says the airline, because we talked about sleep in one of the episodes, the airline did a fair bit of research around sleep cycles. A typical sleep cycle is around 90 minutes. So a 4-hour session gives the opportunity for customers to wind down, fall asleep, and wake up. Amenities include USB charging ports, a reading light, earplugs, full-size sheets, a blanket, and a pillow.
Oh my God, that's funny. Takes a whole new term to, oh man, the joke would have been so much more funny if I knew the punchline. You know where people have sex in the bathroom?
Yeah. It's called Mile High Club.
Yeah, Mile High Club.
Yeah.
Well, that takes a whole new status to, I guess this is called Economy Mile High Club.
Oh, and they're actually, speaking of that, they said, sorry, I just read something that I want to read out to you about partners and kids. Sorry.
It's okay, you find that, and I'll give you my thoughts on it. I think that for an extra $200 to $400, I don't think that's crazy pricing. I think it's valuable for really long flights, and if you need it for them, if you have a child or something, so maybe you could just pay one pod for a few hours for the mom or something like that.
Yeah, and it's what I don't understand is it says only one person at a time will be able to use the pod, even if people wish to share with partners or kids. So.
Because it's too small,
yeah.
I'm assuming.
And it's purple light,
Yeah.
and apparently purple light makes you sleep better.
Yeah, I think in the Japanese sleep pods, the lighting looked like that too. So they must have done some research somewhere.
Yeah, and it's
cool.
I think it's very interesting.
We'll keep an eye on it, and we'll chat about it more if it's something that is cool.
And I'd be interested to see if it becomes mainstream at some point.
Place your bets. Do you think it will? I don't think it will be. I think because it's targeted at economy flyers who might need a bit of. So I think it'll be very specialized. It won't be mainstream. It won't be on every single plane. Like, definitely not.
Yeah.
Like, business class flights are still, because people who can afford business and first, they don't need that.
And I think airlines are actually moving more towards less space to cram more people in. So I don't know if it at some point would get mainstream.
But yeah, so let's go into today's topic.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't we start from the top? It's interesting because Kat never really watches it. And for me, typically back in Canada, as soon as I wake up on the day of the event, I usually go into the office and I'll turn it on and watch it. It's usually around 9 or 10 a.m. back home in Canada. So I would watch it with my friends who are really into Apple. My friend Joel, if he's listening to this podcast, him and I were texting back and forth while it was happening. But here in Europe, the event happens in the evening time. So right before dinner or right after dinner. So as we were sitting down for the evening, I turned it on our TV, and Kat just joined me because what else? It was kind of like just like a little show to watch, I guess.
Yeah. And
it was a good presentation.
And yes, and before we dive into what it was about, and
what were your thoughts on it for you never really even watching it? Like, this was probably your first time watching it start to finish, right?
I've seen clips.
Yeah.
And what I'm always amazed by, and what I wasn't surprised by because I had seen it, is the how beautiful it is. It's a beautiful presentation. So that it's just very easy to watch. I'm not a tech person, and it's 2 hours long. I watched most of it. I do have to say, by the end of it, it got a little long.
A little techie,
They do a really, really good job. And to be honest, I have a lot of Apple products, so it affects me.
Yeah.
So
and I think and because of the pandemic, their presentation has gotten even more beautiful, because before they just walked on stage, presented all the stuff, and they'd cut scenes to the beautiful videos that they've made of the product. But now every single scene is pre-filmed, I believe, and then they just display it on stage, and then they may have someone come out onto a stage. And it was outdoor this year. It was really nice at Apple Park.
By the way, now that you're saying it, I saw the day after, I saw some TikTok memes.
Of course. Of it. I know exactly what you're talking about.
What am I talking about?
Apple hands.
Apple hands, yes! Like,
you can't pass your shoulders. You have to get a little bit excited. And then when you're telling something thoughtful, you got to bring in, you tell them the facts, and then you open to get them excited, but never.
and then you do Angela Merkel.
Is that what she does?
She always stood like that or stands. Like
Oh my goodness, that's funny.
Because what do you do with your hands when you present, right? Like I do a lot of this.
Yeah, I think a lot of people in presentations, when they don't know what to do, they get too wide, or so I think they must have brought on a coach for all the Apple presenters, and it's like the TikTok was hilarious. Like, hi, welcome to Apple's product announcement. I've been rehearsing this for 6 months, and I will only talk with my hands at these two areas. When I'm excited, I'm going to talk like this, and when I'm telling facts, I'm going to close up. It was funny. But anyways, let's get right into it. So the first thing they announced, I think we're going to try to fly through most of this. I think most people have seen this by now, but we just wanted to give our thoughts a little bit. The first one was the MacBook Air, and they just announced it in a new size, the 15-inch. Have you ever used a MacBook Air?
Never owned one, used it before from like I've used it from people that have it.
Yeah, like your mom has like a little thin wedged MacBook Air.
My sister used to have a MacBook Air. Yeah.
And I think when that one came out, I think people were just like so fascinated with how small, thin, and light it is. And it still is. I think it's a super capable MacBook. I think the MacBook Air is the MacBook for every common person to get. And then if you were a bit more specialized from a work perspective, maybe someone who's in marketing that deals with a lot of graphic arts, photography, building presentations, then the Pro line series makes a lot of sense. And then if you're obviously a photographer or videographer or 3D renderer or whatever, then obviously you're going Pro anyways. But what are your thoughts on that, having a bigger everyday laptop?
I think because I don't have a secondary screen, I only work purely from my MacBook screen. I would sometimes enjoy having a larger size.
Yeah, she's on the M1 MacBook
13-inch.
13-inch Pro. Yeah.
And so I would enjoy it from that perspective. But if I think about freedom of movement, which the
MacBook Air series is geared towards, lots of freedom of movement and traveling.
Because it's still so light.
Yeah.
It's just a little bigger.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess, then my argument doesn't fly, because I never wanted to get the bigger size because it's so much heavier.
Yeah. So it's incredibly light. I think it's like 3 pounds only, like really, really light. Yeah. The one thing that I did see a lot of people saying is that the 13-inch fits perfectly on like the little table trays that fold out. And the 15 doesn't really. Like when I'm editing on my 16-inch on the DB trains across Germany, they don't fit on the tables very well. So the 13 is still good for that. But like you said, if you're on your laptop a lot and you're moving around quite a bit from area to area, mobile office, traveling, I think it's a good buy, and they've kept it well priced. I think it's like $12.99 or something like that US.
Yeah.
Good price.
But for you, it wouldn't be powerful enough?
I think for simple tasks, for sure. I think you could cut together some quick reels and some quick edits, no problem. But I think if you're wanting to do, get into some heavier editing or color grading or pull up huge size photos, I think it would start to lag. My biggest argument is that it doesn't have a lot of RAM, so you can't open up a lot of programs at the same time. And so when you upgrade the RAM, Apple has this thing, and I think we've talked about this, but they do the pricing ladder. Yeah. So as you add some options to the Air series of MacBooks, it starts to, like get a little bit higher in price. But once you add those options on, the price is not that far off from the next tier up. Yeah. In this case, the 14-inch MacBook Pro.
I see.
So I priced out the MacBook Air 15-inch, and with the RAM that I would feel like I would need, and some more memory upgrade, now it's only $300 away from the MacBook 14-inch, the Pro series. So why wouldn't I get the more powerful? Yeah. Because it has a M2 Pro chip versus the M2 chip, which is a much faster, more capable chip. So anyways, now we're getting a little too techy, but it's an everyday computer for everybody. Yeah. I think let's just dive right into what did they announce after that? I think they went right into the Mac Studio and the Mac Pro, which I don't think we really need to dive into on this podcast.
Maybe we go into we ask each other what our highlights were. Like, what was from the whole presentation? What was your?
Well, the highlight, obviously, let's get the elephant out of the room. Everybody is talking about the new AR headset,
Apple Vision Pro.
Apple Vision Pro. Like, how could that not be sort of like the highlight? In
a good or a bad way.
Yeah, I think that is the highlight piece for everyone who walked away from that presentation. Yeah. I think everybody at some point talked about that, no matter what. So for the people who haven't seen it, should we summarize or explain what it is? Well, maybe we'll quickly go through some of the highlights outside of that first, and then we'll go into it. Yeah. So for me, I have two. Yeah. The first one was I was really hoping they would upgrade the Mac Studio, which is essentially their top tier computer. I wanted them to do the new M2 chips, which they did. They did the Max and the Ultra, which is a powerhouse computer at a fairly affordable price. And I think that's the computer that I think I will move to do all my work, because it's the one that I think people should get for the desktop if they are a creative professional. And then they upgraded the Mac Pro Tower, which is like absurdly powerful, that most people on this planet don't need unless you are very specialized into heavy CGI, movie making, or music or whatever. Is that the one that I said looks like a cheese grater? Yeah, yeah. And you know what it also reminded me of? Because I thought of a cheese grater. You know that meme of when you put a camera inside a cheese grater and it looks like, I think Drake would come out any second for a music video. Have you seen those? Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. So sorry, I just thought. No, it totally looks like that. But you've seen that computer before. That came out years ago. No, I've seen it. I've seen it in the store, but on the specific, it was either in the presentation or an image that you and I looked at. It was an image of their whole lineup. Yeah, exactly. And it was on the right side and just fully looked like a cheese. I mean, I think they embraced the whole cheese grater look. Yeah, probably. You said that. It's an overkill computer. I don't think most people on this planet even really need that. Yeah. But to say my second highlight was an iOS highlight, actually, and it's AirDrop. Oh, it's not the one I expected you would say. What did you expect for me to say? I expected you to say the one where you have I don't even know how to explain it, where you can tilt your phone to the side and it suddenly becomes like an alarm. Oh, it's called standby. It's like a new mode. Yeah. No, it's AirDrop. And the reason why AirDrop is my an update that I'm looking forward to is because like I said, I've said this before, but I literally use it every single day. Every time I cut a reel or make a video for a client or need to preview it to see what it would look like from the computer to the device, I AirDrop it back and forth, and photos especially. Like, I'm always editing photos and then AirDropping it to my phone and then uploading it because it AirDrops fast and in full resolution. That's the biggest thing. Like, you don't get that with Android or any other phone system. It's incredible. And to be honest, like, I used to have so for the longest time, my work computer was a MacBook and my phone was an iPhone. And then when I first started my current job, I got moved to a Dell computer. And suddenly I felt like I didn't know how to get files from my phone to my computer. I would send them on email or something. Or an FTP server or something. It was very weird. Yeah, right? How do you do it? Like, sometimes because I work in social media, sometimes I go into, let's say I'm preparing a presentation for a client and I want to put like a mock-up from an iPhone with Instagram on it. I need to take that screenshot on my phone and then get it from my phone to my computer. I can't do that on the computer. And every time I'm like, how do I do this? Yeah, it made your life a living hell, because it's literally like because our phones are so integrated into our lives, files need to move back and forth seamlessly, and there is no other like I will say I don't know the Android system very well, but I don't know that they have one that works as good. I think Samsung has something like a transfer system, but everyone that I talk to just uses AirDrop and is in the Apple ecosystem because of that. And so for me, it's important that they updated it. And if you don't know what the update is, before you had to like select your files, pull up the AirDrop symbol, wait for the other person to pop up and then hit AirDrop. Now you can initiate it by just bringing the device, my phone close to Kat's phone, or my phone close to her computer, or my phone close to my computer, or if I have something on my computer, I just bring my phone close to it. And the other big thing is you always have to keep it, if it was a big file, like I transfer videos sometimes and it's a big file or multiple photos, it takes a long time. So you have to stand near the person, wait for the ring to close. But now, once the transfer starts, you can just leave and keep going on your day, and then it'll just do it in the background, which is really cool.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, but what about yours?
My 2 highlights were, one was a Mac OS update. Their new system is called Sonoma.
Yep.
And with Sonoma, or is it also iOS? I'm not sure, but it applies to video conferencing. So they, and maybe you have to help me to explain this in a good way, but it allows when you are on a video call. And
well, let's go from the top. What is the most annoying thing about being on a video conference call? The thing that is annoying when you have to do a presentation, like a screen share?
One, I don't know, that I can't see the other people.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And you suddenly disappear. Right?
No, I don't disappear for them. At least on Teams, I don't. I'm there.
Okay. So basically, 4 people are on a call. One person shares their screen, and suddenly the person sharing the screen can no longer see the other 3 people.
Yeah.
And in some video conferencings, they can't see the other person either.
Yeah.
Because suddenly their screen has been taken over by the screen share.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And now with this update to video conferencing, they give you a view where it appears as if you're showing like a whiteboard in the room that you're in. Like, I don't know, maybe
I think there's a couple different, I think there's a couple different modes, but essentially what it does is it makes the presenter become like a weatherman.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So basically what it does is it takes the person who's presenting and it puts them on the front layer.
Yeah.
And then their presentation is in the back layer, like a green screen.
Like a middle layer, and the
middle layer.
And the back layer is your background.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then all the other callers are then placed on top.
Yeah.
So everyone can still see everyone, but also can see the presentation. And and the person presenting can also see, so they can do like that Vanna White, like the Wheel of Fortune, like.
Yeah, it looked like you can actually like point to what you're showing instead of sitting there like a robot and moving your cursor on the
screen. And you can also gauge people's reactions so that if they look a little confused, you can explain it further, because that was one of those things. It's hard to convey what you're trying to say. You can't get a reaction back, right?
That's what they say in general with video calls alone. Even when you can see people, a lot, and especially for introverts, a lot is lost over the digital barrier in terms of facial expressions and like body language.
Body language, yeah.
And then imagine presenting to a bunch of people that you can't see at all.
Yeah.
So all you see is your own screen, and you can't see faces, anything.
Yeah, you can't even see if they're like looking in the right place because you're just moving your mouse around, and like, yeah, it's weird.
Yeah.
And Apple's trying to solve that. And I think it's available for multiple platforms. I think it said Zoom, Teams.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. At first I was
You're like, this is dumb. This is only for Apple.
Yes. And then they showed that it integrates with Microsoft Teams, which we use in my company.
Yeah, I'm curious, though, if it still works. I mean, if you're on a MacBook, then hopefully everyone can still integrate, because a lot of your team members still use Windows PC.
Yeah.
So hopefully that works out.
Yeah.
But do you have a second one or no?
The second highlight was...
Oh, I know what it is.
Journal.
Yeah.
Journal is an iOS app. For iPad and iPhone.
I believe so. Yeah.
And it is an app that collects your, you know how on iPhone, when you go into your Photos app, it shows you like on this day 3 years ago.
The little memories, those pre-made memories,
days out in nature in March or something. And this
days out getting really hammered. And then you're like, oh God.
In October. I don't know. And Journal integrates everything that happened on your phone, let's say, on that specific day. So it's text messages, notes you put down, reminders you put down, photos, and then it gives you, there's a little notepad underneath where you can journal about that day. So because I love journaling so much and I'm a very nostalgic person, it suddenly provides me with the opportunity of not only writing down what I experienced, but also putting that collage together of photos and anything that.
Yeah, and I also believe that when you open it up, depending on the day or what memories have been collected, it also gives you prompts so that you can begin writing.
Exactly.
That was what excited you the most.
Yeah, and
because you believe prompts are like very valuable into starting that journaling process and to just kind of have a focused direction in your journaling.
Yeah.
Like I don't journal at all, but I can see the value in it.
Yeah.
Because you left out an important part. You left out the part that in journaling, the key factor for why people should do it is gratitude, so that they can see what all the good things that are happening in their life, so they can have a better, more positive outlook. Correct? Yeah. Like, I don't know, is that right?
Yeah, it makes you have like you said it right. It makes you appreciate the small things. And when you do gratitude journaling, you're always supposed to be grateful for the smallest little things. So it's like my cup of coffee.
Like my cup of coffee.
my cup of coffee.
I think you've had too much coffee today already.
My cup of coffee in the morning, or the sun coming through my window, something like that. And it makes you.
And that's why I think a lot of people think journaling is so flu, right? Like there's like journaling, because they like everything you're telling me is like you should be grateful for all the little things. But when you really break it down, that's what actually really matters. It's like, of course, all the big events should be celebrated.
And of course, I'm grateful for you and for my family.
Or grateful when you're able to buy a brand new car or whatever. But like something that like it breaks down even further. Not everybody has the opportunity just to have a cup of coffee in the morning. Yeah. So to be grateful for that shows you that, you know, we're very lucky.
And it also is, let's say you had a day that didn't go very well. But if you sit down in the evening and you sit in front of your journal and it asks you to write down 3 things you're grateful for on a bad day, it's going to show you that some things still happen that are positive, even on a bad day.
Exactly. You can't just pick out the bad things. You have to find some things that you're grateful for.
One more thing about the journal app that I'm a little skeptical about, or what I said, I wouldn't use it on the iPhone because I like the act of physically writing it down with a pen.
Yeah.
Because there are studies that show that the movement of like directing movement by thought with a pen makes you remember what you're writing down way better than typing it on a keyboard.
Yep, for sure.
So the only way I would use it is an iPad, I think.
Yeah.
So that's my only.
Yeah, and I'm curious if they will ever bring the Apple Pencil to the iPhone, which I don't think they will ever. Where would you put it? Like, doesn't make a lot of sense. But people have been wanting it for a long time.
Yeah.
But
let's move back to the elephant in the room.
Yeah. So there have been a lot of announcements, but those are the ones that we kind of wanted to sort of touch upon. Because you mentioned standby, I'll quickly say what it is. Essentially, it's a way for you to dock your phone on one of those like phone docks and put your phone horizontal, and then it allows you to turn your phone into like a little night side alarm clock or a little desk clock or desk calendar, and you can pick different types of widgets, appointments, sports scores if you're like a journalist in sports, reminders, and they were saying it's a great way for you to put down your phone and not feel the need to always fidget and pick it up, and to make it a little more glanceable. So I think that can be actually a really good thing. I'm also really excited to see, you know, like the Google Home, I don't even know if it's called Vision, but like, because we don't really use any Google device, but it has like a little screen and it shows the weather. Like at my sister's house, they have that little pad thing.
Google, play watermelon sugar.
Yeah, like, My nephew was obsessed with watermelon sugar from Harry Styles. And so we had this little screen, and I think it'll allow for iPads to do that for your home.
Yeah. Back to Vision Pro.
Yep. So why don't you tell me your thoughts on it, since you might not be as excited?
I am actually very excited about it.
You are?
I am.
You don't think it's silly that you have to wear a computer
No.
that's strapped to your face?
No, I would.
That's the introvert talking, everybody.
Yes. I didn't want to say it again. I think that right now I can only see no, that's not true. I can mostly see it making my life better than worse. And let me explain that. I think we spend so much time on our devices anyways that Apple Vision Pro is a device that makes some of that screen time more freeing. And we have to dive into the details for you to understand what I'm sort of saying, but that's sort of my overall sentiment around it. It's positive.
Yeah, so dive into that, because I think you just confused everybody.
I just confused everybody.
They probably have no idea what you're trying to say. I know what you're trying to say because we've talked about it, but
again, and I think again, it's mainly around work. What I see. Well,
let me try to give them a little basis.
Yes, you're always much better at that.
So I have a bit more of a flexible schedule. Sometimes I can go shoot photos for a couple hours, then come home and edit for a couple hours, and then leave the house and go film for a couple hours, and then come back and edit. Or maybe sometimes I'll work in the morning for a little bit, take the entire afternoon off, and then go back out at sunset. So I don't feel stuck. Whereas Katarina, in her job, because she works with clients who kind of just work within the 9 to 5, 8 to 4, 7 to 3, she is, like, she's not in a cubicle, but it's like that whole old work mentality. You feel like you're stuck in a cubicle, chained to your desk for 8 hours.
Yeah.
And so what you're trying to say, I think, is with Apple Vision Pro, because it is a computer that you put on and the tech allows you to still see in front of you and all around you, but still have screens up, you can maybe just leave your desk, or you want some fresh air, maybe this would be, or just sit on your patio, for example, better. Yeah. You can go to your patio, have the screen up, and then still kind of do your work. Or maybe you just need to read some emails quickly and you don't want to need to do it at your desk. You want to take a little break and go outside.
And to be honest, I think in a work environment, because we work from home, some of the perks of working, or I work from home, some of the perks of working from home is that I can do the laundry in the middle of the day, but I can't really still, because if I'm stuck in meetings all day, then I still cannot move around freely while I'm in that meeting. So maybe—
How would you really do those tasks while you're in a meeting, because you have to listen to it?
Depends on the type of meeting, but sometimes there's meetings where it's an hour long and you have to be there because you sort of need that information, but you don't have an active role. So those are the ones that I'm talking about, that really I would only need to listen and maybe sometimes look at the screen, which with those goggles.
It's like listening to a podcast while quickly throwing in your laundry or making lunch or grabbing a coffee.
Just great. Exactly. Like it gives me freedom of movement within the boundaries of my job. And that's why.
But still allows you to do your job. Yeah. For me, I'm on the same coattails, not in terms of like that freedom of movement, but I'm excited to see how we can use it to work differently, to work better, possibly. Like for me, like for Kat, like here's a good example. Kat, for example, like she says, she doesn't have a monitor on her desk. So she has her laptop and that's it. But let's say she needs to do a presentation and she just has this tiny screen, or she has, she's putting together a presentation, but she has to flip through different tabs to look at the photos and the spreadsheets. But now what you can do essentially is look at your MacBook, it shoots up, and then you open up a Safari window here to, like, for Pexels to grab some photos. You have your spreadsheet, you have your main presentation here, and you have your spreadsheet or your revision board from your client. And now you can be like, okay, they need this revised, they need this, and imagine being able to just grab it and move it into there even, because with a mouse in one hand, like, think about it, right? Like, we type with both our hands, sure. And that's probably the fastest thing we can possibly do on a computer, typing, right?
Yeah.
But when you're doing tasks that require mouse movement, like building a website or or building a PowerPoint presentation or whatever, what's faster? Grabbing a mouse and like doing this, or just being like plopping things in with two hands, like being like, here's my text that I need, here's my photo, plop it in. Oh, or like text, for example, for websites, like, oh, it's too small. So you're using your scroll mouse to like make the text bigger, or clicking the numbers, or 120, 130, 140. Or do you just grab the text in midair and just stretch it to the size you need?
You know what I actually just thought also is, I find it very interesting because when you are on a computer where you use a mouse or a trackpad, you always use your strong hand. You use one hand. But now if you think you have multiple screens in front of you, I can see myself not using this hand to go here. I would do here and
your left hand.
So
people can't see what she's doing, but basically she's grabbing things from the right side with her right hand and grabbing things from the left side with her left hand. And I think that's perfect.
And what I was trying to say is, maybe, like, I'm going so far ahead, but evolution-wise, are we maybe developing both hands more strongly? Because
what's the word for that?
I don't know.
Do you know the English word?
What do you mean?
To be able to use both hands very strongly?
Something dexterous?
Yeah, it's ambidextrous.
Oh, I wanted to say multidextrous.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it is.
Yeah, but
is there a word for that in German?
Beidhändig. No, I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyways, I think I am just excited. Like, when I watched it, I was like, this seems, and again,
it seems too good to be true.
Other companies have done AR before, and I'm sure there's amazing things out there. But again, Apple sort of brings things into the mainstream, even though this is not mainstream, but it makes people perk up and be like, huh. And I think
people who don't care about something start to care about it when Apple starts to do it, for better or for worse, whether they hate it or whatever, because people start to notice, because in Apple's world, no press is bad press. The memes of the AirPods, like, it doesn't matter. When AirPods Max came out, everyone said it looked like a little purse. Like, everyone started to know about it. Yeah.
But anyways, I've talked a lot about it. What are your thoughts?
That's basically what I said. It's like, I'm excited to see, like, for me, actually, the one thing that I've been actually suffering with a lot is, because I'm on the computer so much editing with photos, people get a lot of tendonitis in their mouse hand and their shoulder pain in this one arm. But if you can start to spread that load across different, and you can move your body differently to work differently, I think there's a lot of potential there. But enough about work, right? Like,
yes,
like I think that is the biggest niche that the Apple Vision Pro will fall into, is for these like 3D renders, engineers, creatives in some way, or in a work environment. I can see so much value in it.
Absolutely.
But from a home and entertainment perspective, like you said, for you, you're excited as an introvert, being able to put the goggles on and then put on a movie that's the size of a screen that is super huge, and then you turn the crown and you're suddenly in like the redwood forest or in the mountain region watching a movie, because that's what you can do. You can immerse yourself in a different environment. That could be really cool. But do you like the idea of just being so shut off from the open world?
No, and that's exactly what I think is.
That's going to be the biggest hurdle.
Exactly. Like, I can see, I don't even know if I would use it to watch a movie. Like, when am I really by myself to watch?
On an airplane.
On an airplane.
Yes.
When I don't want to be with the people around me. Or... Yeah,
but on an airplane, you can't really talk to anyone. So it's okay to just strap on these goggles. And if you're on a 12-hour flight, then you could just watch that. But speaking of that, right now the biggest thing that people are stuck on more than the technology or wearing these goggles is that the battery pack's only 2 hours. Like, that's the one out of all the things that they could have been mad at, right? It's the 2-hour battery life. Like,
they're already thinking about using it for a long time. What do you think about?
Exactly, but but the thing is, like, they have to start somewhere. So, but you can plug it in for the people who aren't aware of this device. But anyways, back to that. Like, on an airplane, you're not talking to anyone anyway, so it's a perfect opportunity to use that to watch a movie. But in the home setting, and here's something interesting. So I did make a quick thoughts and impressions video on my YouTube channel. So we'll link that in the show notes. But one of my subscribers actually left a very, very thoughtful comment.
Yeah.
And his comment was, hey, I really like this device. I think I could have enough money to buy one of them. And it's $3,500, by the way. He's like, maybe two. He's like, but I have a family of 3 children. So that's me, my wife, and the 3 kids. He's like, there's absolutely no way that I would ever put on the headset and exclude them, or buy only 2 and exclude everybody else from this movie watching experience. So how am I supposed to afford $17,000 worth of, like, it's not possible.
Yeah.
Because I think how Apple's going to combat this is if everybody has the headset, you'll be able to enjoy the experience together, like SharePlay. Like, you know how you can watch movies together on FaceTime? Yeah. They're going to do the same thing somehow. Like if you have a headset, let's say you're long distance and you have a headset and I have a headset and we're across, man, I can't even speak. We're in different parts of the world and we want to watch a movie together. Now suddenly we can be in the same place, sort of virtually, I guess, right? Like we're both in the same headset. We're both sitting in this environment watching this movie together and we can kind of chat to each other. I don't know. It could be cool there, but it would be impossible for a family of 4 to even afford that much tech right now. And
in general, I think thinking about it when you're in an environment with family, if I think about you and I, the only way that I can see myself walking around with it is if I'm in work mode.
Exactly. I'm not going to sit on the couch while you're cooking dinner in my own world.
Exactly. Or when I'm meditating in the morning, because it gives you that immersive experience. But that's something that I really have a big question mark about, how it works in like a social setting. And because it talks so positively about the work environment, I think one thing I don't like about it is when you're on a video call, you see the other people on the video call.
And they see you.
But they see an avatar of you.
Yeah, like a hyper-realistic avatar. Yeah.
Which
is weird.
Speaking of body language before and taking away from being in the same room together,
I know.
Now you're not even the real person on the phone call. So again, big question mark.
Exactly. Lots of question marks there, for sure. Like, there's a million questions about how it works, but a lot of the people who've had the ability to try it, right away they said that it does seem like it works really well. There's 2 little monitors in the goggles. Again, if you don't know about it, it's going to be 4K monitors, and it has tons of cameras and different IR readings and depth sensors. So how it works, just to quickly let everyone know, is it tracks your eye movements. And wherever you're looking, that's where like the icons will get a little bigger. And then all you have to do is sort of pinch with your fingertips to sort of click, and then you can swipe the air. And apparently there's so many cameras on it that it tracks really well. There's no other remotes or anything. And the one thing that we're sort of leaving out is there's a glass panel on the front. And so when you're looking at other people and you're not in like this fully immersed environment, it will, again, use those avatar 3D projected eyes or whatever onto that screen. And if you see any pictures, it looks like it's a transparent screen, but it's actually not. Those eyes aren't even real. They're just projecting a version of your eyes because it's already tracking your eyes, so it looks like you're looking at you. And for all my movie fans out there, isn't it wild that the goggles kind of look like the Ready Player One goggles that was made way back when, and Apple has now decided to make goggles that are sort of similar to that? I feel like Kat's never seen that movie, so we need to watch that movie. And as much as there are hundreds of questions of how this is actually going to play out and work, it's somewhat, to a degree, for me, exciting that we might be in a world where we can maybe change the way we look at working and the way we move our bodies while we work. And maybe there will be health benefits from it, to be able to be ambidextrous rather than having always the stress on this one hand, you know, because sometimes there are tasks that I can do with my left hand, but I'm not going to use the mouse on that side. Exactly. So like moving text around, like if I'm grabbing, because you know how we have all like typically on Photoshop, the sidebar is always on the left side.
Yeah.
And I always have to use the mouse and drag over, click the thing that I want. Well, now rather than doing that, I'll just click the tool I want with my left hand. And then if it's an action I can perform with my left hand, then I would do it with my left hand.
Yeah.
So I'm not stuck. So like the pain in my body won't be isolated to just one side.
Yeah. And I think what I enjoy is, yes, we can use standing desks, but being able to stand in the room and just moving freely with my hands and having an upright position because you can position the screen above you.
One of my subscribers actually also said the same thing, being able to virtually move the screen in a more comfortable position, because on a standing desk, sure, you're standing, but you're still doing this, right? Rather than what if you're typing for so long, but then you're doing a task where you could just like stretch a little bit. I don't know. From a work perspective, I'm extremely excited, and I really hope we get to that place where it's valuable. And I hope that I hope a lot of us, I hope a lot of the people, probably maybe not us, who can afford to buy it, who are enthusiasts, who are first-gen adopters, really push that work aspect and really test the boundaries of it. Because I had also said that this is not going to be a product that everybody buys. Yeah. It just won't be. It's like the first iPhone, like not that many people had it. The first iPod, the first Apple Watch. It's now when iPhone became generation 3, 4, sort of, but then it was really Apple, the iPhone 5, iPhone 6, iPhone 7. Like, you know what I mean? That's when everybody started to buy it.
Adopted, yeah.
Like your family never got an iPhone until like iPhone 4 or 5 even. You didn't start to iPhone 3, the black and white curved back one.
Yeah, I think 4 was when everybody had it.
Yeah, because that became like that flat candy bar shape, which ironically is now the shape that it's come back to. Yeah. But I'm excited. There are a lot of questions still about this. Yeah. And yeah, I want to know your thoughts actually. If you're watching this on YouTube, leave some comments or go to my YouTube video where I go a bit further into the entire event. Yeah. Leave some comments there so we can have a conversation. If you're listening to this on Spotify, you said you can leave comments. Is that true?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, so leave a comment there. And don't forget to like, rate, subscribe. As we said, all the things that is asked of from the listeners and people and supporters these days.
Yeah, and we're just happy that you're listening
to us and
joining our conversation about this.
Yeah.
And
it was just a quick, fun episode.
Exactly. And it's something that I think I was so excited to talk about because it was my first time ever watching it. And I think I feel so, because the Vision Pro was launched, I'm like, ooh, is it a moment in history that I would?
Yeah, a lot of people are wondering if it's a change, because like a lot of the people would be like, moment in history. Like, what are you talking about? Like, but come on. When the iPod was launched, that was a moment in history. Digital music became mainstream, and then it literally destroyed CDs. And then when the iPhone came out, like, it changed everything. Every phone now looks like that. It's the same thing. And I take it back to when digital photography first came out. Everyone scoffed at it. But look at there are critical moments. And so whether this fails or doesn't, I think this tech could be a marking point. Yeah. If one day, like, I don't think the whole world will be walking around doing these virtual hand movements, but yeah, enough of this. We will be back next week with another fun episode. We want to do an in-depth food episode because we're watching a really cool show on Netflix that we want to dive into.
Yeah, we have lots of thoughts that sparked from that.
Yeah, it's a food episode, but it sparks into how you can live your life more full.
How you can live your life more full.
More full, and not be so confined to certain parameters.
Exactly.
Let's just tease that. But thanks for listening. We'll see you in the next one.
Bye.
Ciao.